What's happening, guys? Happy Memorial Day weekend and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we are going to talk dynasty trades and we're going to talk a whole lot of nonsense. And here to help me is the king of nonsense, but you know him better as the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Buddy, what's going on?
Nonsense is the name of the game, player.
I love some nonsense.
I'm wonderful. I just did a guest appearance on the Game Plan, Matty Kiwoom's podcast, Player Profiler Network. We had a kick-ass time. Last time I saw that video was at like 1,700 views or something in 24 hours. Love all of you absolute degenerates that watch that kind of stuff. Had fun. I mean, he's Matty Kiwoom. I mean, he's just a fun dude to interact with. So that's why when he asked me, I was like, absolutely. Like I'm in there like swimwear, bud.
I absolutely love Matty Kiwoom, one of my absolute favorite people in the dynasty space, a good friend. Glad I got to meet him in person when we did the draft show up in Michigan. Real quick before we get into what will be a large, very large episode of nonsense. And by the way, if you're watching live on YouTube and you want to throw a trade in the chat, we're going to try to get to those. We're going to start with some trades from our patrons just to kind of get the ball rolling. And as I see some in the chat, I'll try to write those down. We'll try to help you with your trades, kind of a quasi Q&A, if you will, along with a sack full of other nonsense. But before we get into all of that, remember it is Memorial Day. And I know this is primarily a United States-based holiday, but this is just, I mean, the show's called The WarZone. And if you don't know the history of the show, the guy who initially founded the Dynasty Football Factory, Michael Goings, he was a veteran. And that's where the name came from. We have since taken ownership of the brand, never rebranded. I love the military theme of our podcast. It's not that we're into war games or whatever, but it's really, to me, it's an homage to the men and women who keep us free in America and protect our freedoms. So this is just a big shout out to all those that will served the United States Armed Forces. So that's just a shout out, Jerry. How do you feel about that?
You know, I mean, I am a military historian of now, granted, not American history, because in general, it tends to be a little boring, but I mean, always respect everybody that's willing to do that, because I don't know if any of you have known this in the however long you have listened to the show. Jerry is a big old pussy and is not going to put himself in that situation. So I do appreciate it.
You know, I had this conversation and I think it was at the draft house, but I know I've had it recently. And someone asked me, they said, hey, you know, do you have any regrets? And, you know, the more I've thought about it, I've done some dumb shit. A lot of dumb shit in my many years on this planet, and I don't regret any of it. You know, if you don't learn from your mistakes, it counts as 2 mistakes next time. But if there's one regret that I have, it's the only one, was not serving at least for like 4 years. Like I said, as I've gotten older, as a younger guy, I didn't think it was for me. But as an older guy, I have so much reverence and respect for those ladies and gentlemen. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. It is Memorial Day weekend. For Jerry and I, it's business as usual. We're going to start talking trades. We have a good people, good tweets. Jerry, good people, good tweets tonight. We're going to do the trades. But first, let's get our commercial spot out of the way. Let's hear from Underdog.
This episode is made possible by Underdog Fantasy, and Underdog Fantasy is the leader in best ball. When you go to join an Underdog Fantasy best ball draft, it fills very quickly, especially now. It's Best Ball Mania season, baby. Best Ball Mania 5. I can't believe they're at Best Ball Mania 5 already. $15 million in prizes. They're giving out $15 million with $1.5 million to first. Playing in best ball leagues makes you better. It helps train you on player value and strategy. And Underdog offers a lot more than just best ball contests. They offer pick'ems. My new favorite, the golf pick'ems, but they have the NBA pick'ems, baseball pick'ems going on throughout the offseason. Hit the pick'ems, back to best ball, hit the pick'ems. So use promo code Underworld. Promo code Underworld gets you a 50% deposit bonus up to $250 So they've increased the maximum deposit bonus. It was $100. Now it's up to $125. When you get the Underdog app, use promo code Underworld and go draft your ass off.
You know, Matt has branded that now. Not only is like he did it for that commercial read, but draft your ass off is going to be a thing with Player Profiler and Underdog. I will say this on the Underdog pick'ems. From what I understand from people that do that and do that well, the more obscure the player and the prop, the more likely you are to have success, Jerry. There's a little hack. Secondhand hack.
I'm not a best ball guy. I've tried it a few times and I've been terrible at it. So, and that's why I don't play golf either.
I'm never going to fill up a
be
card.
Terrible, and I know I'm just going to be pissed off, and I'm going to throw a club, and I don't own clubs, so it's going to be one of my friends, and they're going to be mad at me. So sort of the same thing with Underdog. I'm in one best ball league. One of our Patreons, one of my longtime friends, Jeff Wilson, started a league with a bunch of people we know. I've done it for the last 2 years. It's the only one I do. And it's only because that's my dog. So I got to help him out.
I still believe that set your lineup is king as it relates to fantasy, whether that be dynasty or whether that be redraft. But I like they have like all these different versions. They have the big dog, the puppy, the Pomeranian. There's like all these different iterations. It's a lot of fun to draft. If you just want to draft, it's a great way to play. Anyway,
let's say if you want to draft your ass off.
If you want to draft your ass off, Jerry, that would be correct. You heard the Podfather. Let's get into it. So the last couple of weeks, we've done good people, bad trades. This week, we have a good people, borderline great people, with a good tweet. I really like this tweet. I think, Jerry, have you seen the Batman movies?
I'm not a huge superhero movie guy, but
you're familiar with where the crime dissolves and there's not as much crime going on because they know Batman's out there.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about bad Dynasty tweets right now. There's not a lot of them. When I do go looking for them, I look up the usual offenders. The Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin of bad Dynasty tweets. You know who they are. As I've looked, Jerry and I have cleaned up the streets, but I found a good person with a great tweet. It is our old friend Ray Garvin at Ray GQ. Love Ray. And he did a little Evan Engram tweet the other day, Jer, and I will read it. Evan Engram ran a league best 612 routes in 2023. Only 3 tight ends have run more over the last decade. Stud. The 3 with more than his 612 were Travis Kelce with 613 in 2021. Mark Andrews was 623 also in 2021. And then here's a blast from the past for you older Dynasty gamers. 2013, Jordan Cameron, 621. I not only do I agree with Ray that Evan Engram is a stud, I think he might be the most underrated, underappreciated Dynasty tight end currently. Jerry, as I say that, what are your thoughts on Evan Engram as a Dynasty asset, especially in tight end premium?
I liked Evan Engram when it was not cool to like Evan Engram, so I'm all for the hype. I mean, he's been pretty consistent. No, he wasn't an absolute demon for like year 2 through year 4, but where would you put him in Dynasty tight ends? Like he's absolutely secured in the top 5 without debate.
Well,
and he's probably
for me personally, he is. But I am proud of Player Profiler. I'm looking right at the Dynasty rankings. Player Profiler have Evan Engram ranked ahead of George Kittle, ahead of Travis Kelce, ahead of David Njoku, ahead of Dallas Goedert. I'm not going to read all the rankings. You can sign up for Dynasty Dominator, Dynasty Deluxe. You can just all of those. All those support the channel and help the show out tremendously. But Evan Engram, firm at number 8. I can live with that. He is 29.7. How much older at 29.7 is he than Mark Andrews? How many years?
Not much. 2.
One, exactly. Mark Andrews, 28.7. What's the age gap between Evan Miller and George Kittle?
Evan Engram and George Kittle.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he's probably 2 years younger.
He's a year younger. So I think he's appropriately ranked. And it's like, I think in a lot of dynasty leagues, like if you start building that trade, we're going to talk trades in tonight's show. And it's like, you want to move into a tight end that's a lot more reliable week to week from a points per game basis. If you can start that trade with you get Evan Engram and they get George Kittle, and you can, massage some other pieces, because the perception, not a player profiler, because player profiler is full of smart people, but the perception is that George Kittle's better than Evan Engram. And I think you get that trade, and I think it will allow some other pieces to come back in your favor. What do you think?
I still can't believe he's tight at 8. That's wild to me. But I'm guessing Brock Bowers is ahead of him on that list.
Laporta, Bowers, McBride, Kincaid, Andrews, Hawkinson, Pitts. Dude, I mean, Dalton.
No,
here's the thing. I love Trey McBride, and I'm a little concerned with the volume. But I was, but I did a deep dive on him, and the targets. He didn't have as many targets as you think he did last year. He was just very efficient with the targets he got. So I think he can repeat. So I'm fine with him. Kincaid is ranked there based off the age, the situation, the quarterback, and that's fair. In Dynasty, which we're not talking seasonal, because like if you're going seasonal, I literally think I take Evan Engram third right now. I think I would take him third. It would be some combination of Laporta, Andrews, Evan Engram, because I stand by my take that Travis Kelce is going to be used more and more. Like I've always used the analogy of Grandpa's Corvette. It's not your everyday driver. You don't put all those miles on there. You use it when you really, really have the opportunity. And I really see the Chiefs trying to keep, Kelce, who will turn 35 in season. I think his days of 600 plus routes run are over, which is fine for what the Chiefs want to do. But for fantasy, like in the seasonal leagues, and to think about where you can get Evan Engram versus where you would get these other guys, Evan Engram is just vastly underrated.
100%.
Well, that's why I chose this tweet. Do you want to hear the other tweet that I was gonna do? Because like, guys, this show is gonna be pure nonsense.
Is it a good one, or are we bitching at somebody?
No, it's borderline offensive, but I was like, this is an interesting one. You ready?
Yeah, shoot.
Well, guys, if you're into nonsense, stick around. If you want to talk to the fantasy football, the trades, fast forward about 3 minutes. This tweet's from Victoria's Immaculate Pen. And the first tweet said, if you only watch men's sports, stay out of my mentions. No ignoramuses allowed. Okay? Spelled allowed wrong, by the way. Also, if you got a dick and balls, but do not / cannot operate a drill or a grill, also stay out of my mentions. I don't know why, as I was, because you have the For You tab on Twitter, X.
Yeah.
And you have like the you follow, and I don't follow this account, so it must have been on like the For You side. I don't know. I thought that was funny as hell. First of all, like Jerry, you were talking about at work, you're watching a ton of women's sports right now.
Yeah. I mean, the Indiana Fever are always on because of Caitlin Clark.
Hot ticket.
I
live in the
am in
area.
Iowa. I am in Iowa, so that's part of the reason for it too. As far as not being able to work a drill, I will have to stay out of her mentions.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
No, I can work a fucking drill, but I am not a handyman by any means.
Well, I mean, can you grill? Now, I bet you can cook because you work in the food service industry.
100%.
And even though you're like the head dog around there, but you've done everything from the chief cook to the bottle washer. And so I know you've ran a grill at some point in your life. You can probably run a grill. You can run a hot plate.
I can do that. Just don't ask me to build something. Don't ask me to fix something. Because I'm gonna YouTube it, and I'm gonna try my best, and it is gonna be a hillbilly operation. It's gonna lean, or it's gonna creak, or it's not gonna turn right. It'll be standing, but it won't be good.
well, you don't. I mean, I guess it was like like the drill. If you only think of like the drill bit, in the drill bit, I mean, that's really primarily for like putting holes in things. But like I use it more with like the Phillips head little thing chucked up in there, and to
Honestly,
drive
the only thing
screws.
I use a drill for is at work when I have to replace, because we
All
have
right.
axe throwing, when I got to replace the wood.
All
That's
right,
like the only time
I
I'll
said
use a drill.
3 minutes, so I got like
Okay.
I got 30 seconds left. Here's a little Memphis life hack for you, right? You ready? You
Shoot.
ever get that cheap, shitty IKEA furniture and it has the little smallest, goddamnedest Allen wrench key in the whole world?
Yeah. Don't you besmirch my dresser though, but continue.
IKEA's fine. I hate building the shit. And so you take that little Allen key that comes with it and get a pair of pliers if you got like a grinding wheel or a cutting wheel, and you cut that 90-degree off that sumbitch, chuck it right up in your drill. Boom, bada bing, bada bam. It is one of the best hacks I have ever been taught. You got to be careful with the drill. You can't use too much torque because it'll strip out those shittily made, nuts and bolts that come with the IKEA furniture. But I just wanted to share that tweet. I'm having issues with the soundboard app, so I'll try to get it going at the end of the show. Besides, this was a good tweet, and I want to get into some trades real quick as I'm pulling up some trades, Jerry. Corey Walters wants to know in the YouTube chat, are we talking Tua trades tonight? I don't remember if Tua's in there. I will probably not be on that side. And Nick take Jake. So maybe he's a Knicks fan. I don't know. How confident are you guys in a Anthony Richardson in a dynasty startup, Jerry?
I am as confident as I am in Jaden Daniels, which is skeptical. It's just I don't like to rely on a quarterback that is especially known for being mobile, because they get hurt like Anthony Richardson did. And with Jaden Daniels' size also being on the slighter side, it's a high risk, high reward type of play. And I tend to not do that. Like I'm fine if you want to, because if he hits, you're going to have a superstar and he could be an anchor of your team for 3, 4, or 5 years. It's just those type of guys are never going to remain elite for a long time. And the moment they're not elite at being able to run the ball, they're just guys. And they usually lose their job and then they're replaced. So I tend to not go that route. I'm not opposed to anybody. That's just my sort of risk aversion strategy to QBs.
Well, I will say this for you, Jake. For me, if an Anthony, and you won't get him at this price in a startup, but I want Anthony Richardson to be my QB 2. I love the upside, scared to death of what happens if he has another injury. It's like a little known fact, but Anthony Richardson has never started and finished the same NFL game. He has left every game and not come back due to injury that he's played. And that's on top of a shoulder surgery that he had last year. Look, I'm a Colts fan. Like I said earlier in the show, I live in Indianapolis. I've been a Colts fan since I was a little kid, but I'm nervous and I'm scared. Now, if he stays healthy, he'll be an absolute stud. But I will say this, if you draft him as your QB1, air quotes, if you're watching on YouTube, your QB1, I would highly recommend you come back around very quickly and lock up a Jared Goff type QB. You got to have that guy, because if you're drafting a team to win now, or you want to contend within a year or two, if your QB1, which in this case would have to be Anthony Richardson, then you better double tap QB back to back in that startup, Jake, because that's going to give you a really safe guy that's going to, always be in that QB8 range, which is a quote unquote QB1. But if Jared Goff's playing at that level, and then Anthony Richardson can hit the Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson type upside that he has, then you are going to dunk on your league mates. But having that Jared Goff type will definitely insulate you in case the worst case scenario happens with Anthony Richardson, Jerry.
Yep, I'm with you. Same thing with Jaden Daniels. Same exact thing.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels is not a QB1, and he shouldn't be. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the rookies even, and I understand where you have to draft them. Like I don't even want like Caleb Williams as my QB1.
No, God no.
No,
Not to say he can't be there.
Well, and I don't
point, but like,
I
I'm
don't
not drafting him
mind
there right now.
I don't mind him as my quote unquote on paper QB1. Same thing as Anthony Richardson, as long as I've got a guy like Jared Goff, that type of guy. Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence to me is falling. But there you go. That's an extra couple of minutes for Jake because he's in the YouTube chat tonight on a holiday weekend asking us about fantasy players. And let's be honest, you guys are sickos. If you're listening to fantasy content in May going into June, you love this shit, and we love you for it. I got the soundboard going, Jared. I don't know what we're gonna do. I think we're just gonna go with this.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh yeah.
You cannot be.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. Let's get into some trades. Here we go. You have waited long enough. First trade. This is from Chris. Chris is one of our patrons. He sent this in. I'm not going to tell you the sides, Jerry, because it would potentially sway you as to who got who. I like that they did not redact the names. I will, but they didn't. Side one, you have Chris Olave, Tucker Kraft, and a 2025 first. So I assume that your rookie draft is over, but that's fine. So again, that is Chris Olave, Tucker Kraft, and a 25 first. Then on the other side, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Romeo Dubes, Zamir White, and the 2024 310. So apparently the rookie draft has not, in fact, happened. So which side do you want? Do you want Olave, Kraft, and a 25 first? Or do you want Amon-Ra St. Brown, Romeo Dubes, Zamir White, and the 310?
I want Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because
it's not even close.
No, all I hear is Chris Olave in a first, and the rest of that is fluff. That includes Zamir White. Zamir White is not long for relevancy in Dynasty. He will have some value, and we're going to talk about him all year because there will be opportunities to profit off of him. But as far as a long-term asset, he's never going to be the guy. So all I hear is Chris Olave in a 2025 first for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is locked in with his quarterback for 4 years. And he's fucking Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I'm also down on Chris Olave. Like I don't think it's egregious to get Chris Olave in a first because you can do a lot with a first, especially 340 days from now when that first is worth a shitload more than it is right now. But I want Amon-Ra. That's consolidating. That's consolidating talent for me.
Is there a more overrated Dynasty asset in Dynasty right now than Chris Olave?
No.
And I like Chris Olave. He is way too overvalued in the current market. And I understand all the potential. And I know the Podfather doesn't do this. I tend to do it because I think it matters because I'm an everything speaks guy. I think everything matters. How much it matters is to be determined. But they have a new offensive coordinator in New Orleans, and that's Gary Kubiak's son. I don't remember his first name, but Gary Kubiak was good friends with Mike Shanahan and runs that style of offense. So if you tell me that Chris Olave is going to get the what we've seen with, because there's so many guys run a variation of that Shanahan offense, from Sean McVay and the success of Cooper Kupp to Kevin O'Connell and the success of Justin Jefferson, these guys that feed their wide receiver one, then maybe Chris Olave can close this gap a little bit this year. But I'm going to have to see it.
I'm going to have to see it. And if that happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs. I know that Amon-Ra is going to get 170 targets. I know he's probably going to catch 125 to 130 of them. He's probably going to get 6 or 8 touchdowns. I know that they have other weapons in that offense besides him, because who else in New Orleans scares you? I mean, I still have a lot of respect and reverence for Alvin Kamara, but outside of that, who? Name their wide receiver 2 off the top of your head.
I have no idea. Is it Shaheed?
I would have to guess it's Rashid Shaheed.
But what is
But that's the
Rashid
point.
Shaheed?
But that's the point. It's like, is it Jawan Johnson? Are they going to roll out the
Ooh.
corpse of Jimmy Graham again this year at tight end?
Is he really still there?
He was
Bro.
last year. I don't know that he'll
Yeah.
be back, but I mean, I don't think he's that much younger or older. And I look at the guys around Chris Olave in Dynasty, and I'm always going to use player profiler rankings because, well, I'm going to be honest with you, they're the best. Like DJ Moore or Chris Olave.
DJ Moore.
I think I agree. Drake London or Chris Olave.
Drake London, easily.
I agree, not easily. Brandon Ayuk or Chris Olave.
Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
You're gonna have to drop probably
Michael Pittman or Chris Olave.
Pittman. We're still not close.
Wow. So I'm getting into like wide receiver 19 range. What about Devonta Smith or Chris
Devonta
Olave?
Smith still.
See, this is that's my floor. Player profiler has Olave ahead of Jalen Waddle. I just made a big trade for Jalen Waddle myself. I'm taking Chris Olave. I'm not gonna take another team's wide receiver 2 over another team's wide receiver 1. I'm just not. I'm not taking Jordan Addison. And I like Jordan Addison. I'm not taking Devonta Smith.
I've seen Jalen Waddle get me 1,400 yards as a wide receiver. I've seen Chris Olave get me 1,050.
Okay, I got one tough one for you. So we clearly agree we're both on the Amon-Ra St. Brown side of this trade. I'm gonna hit you with a couple of rookies because they're also close to Chris Olave. Malik Neighbors or Chris Olave?
Now I'm down on Malik Neighbors in that whole situation, but I'm obviously down on the situation in New Orleans too. So I'll take Malik Neighbors just sort of because it's unknown.
Have you seen the meme from the TV show The Office where it says corporate wants you to determine the difference between these two things?
True, though.
And it's Chris Olave and Malik Neighbors are the same thing.
And that probably sounds heretical to a lot of people who are indulging in dynasty rookie hype right now.
Right. But I like Neighbors.
I agree. I like Chris Olave too. It's a dog shit situation, and I've seen that played out.
All right, last one. Roma Dunze or Chris Olave?
It's probably close. I'd probably go Chris Olave right now, though.
See, here's the move. I'm going to go Chris Olave because I do believe he's going to have a good season this year. I think the entire New Orleans offense, by the way, if I'm doing the research and I've reached out to guys that understand the college game a lot better than I do because I just don't watch a lot of college football. Guys like Nino Brown. I run these things by Shane Hallam. And I want to know how Kendre Miller fits in the Gary Kubiak zone blocking system. Remember the Arian Foster offenses and some of the offenses that Kubiak called in Denver? If I think I can get someone super cheap in that offense and Kendre Miller is a natural fit, he might be one of my biggest buys. Here's my move, though. I think Chris Olave is going to get a lot of targets, a lot of volume. I think Roma Dunze will be, to some degree, JS end. I just use Jackson Smith and Jigba as a verb, but he's going to get JS end in Chicago. But I think Keenan Allen's gone next year. So I'm going to, at the end of the offseason, I'm going to trade Chris Olave for Roma Dunze plus. That's the move.
Fair.
That is the move because I think Chris Olave is going to have a good year, solid year.
He'll have a better year than a Dunze too.
Yes, and then I will go out and get a Dunze because I think a Dunze is going to be
better long term. I can. Dig
this is going to be a sexy wide receiver class. So much fun. All right, next one. Again, I will redact names. We have Travis Etienne.
Probably that side.
Huh?
Probably that side.
I think you probably will.
I got a little bit of excitement for Travis Etienne, but anyway.
Okay, Jerry's got a Travis Etienne micro boner. So we have Travis Etienne or the 110 and the 202.
Not even close. Travis Etienne. They're a first short on that still.
You know, for me, without context, straight up, I'm fine with it both ways. Because I'm the guy who creates his own. When you give me no context, I will create my own context. So if if you're rebuilding or decided to start a rebuild, then a running back going into the 4th year of their career who missed a season already due to, I believe it was a foot or an ankle injury, that's a great time to move on.
Not
Especially if it's super flex and tight end premium, because here's the thing: at 101, excuse me, at 110, like I'm maybe going to get Jonathan Brooks there, and I know Jonathan Brooks has never squirt a drop of piss in the NFL like Travis Etienne.
No.
But if I, again, I'm this is the context. If you're a contender, that's a great, like if you earned that 110 because you finished third in your league, that's a great trade by giving up your 110 to go get Travis Etienne. But
No
again,
shit.
if you have no shot of competing or winning, I am always going to advocate taking.
Then I'll find a different trade for him. We're pissing value there.
Okay,
Travis Etienne is a top 5 running back in Dynasty.
I'm going to confirm. So who do you have ahead of him? Who do you have behind him?
Ahead of him, I got Bijan, I got Jameer, I got Brees. That's probably it. I think he's in a tier with JT and Kenneth Walker, and
you're not far off ahead of the good folks at Player Profiler. I love the fact that I just realized that we at Player Profiler have the RB1 that we have. Spoiler alert, go sign up for Dynasty Dominator or the Dynasty Deluxe and you'll see. But in some combination, you've got Brees Hall, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and Devon Achane. I will tell you that any rankings, as much as I love Player Profiler, that has Devon Achane ahead of Travis Etienne are incorrect.
Hell no, yeah.
And I like Devon Achane. We both have the whole time when he came out last year.
Yeah, I'm trying to trade for him right now, and you're being a tight ass.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that I know that just because he's not valuable doesn't mean he doesn't have value. No, I think he's fine, but I will. So we'll do the same name game as we did with Chris Olave. Okay. Jonathan Taylor or Travis Etienne. By the way, they're the exact same age, 25.3.
Travis Etienne.
I disagree.
Which is fair. That one's close. I mean, I can flip. I would say in that situation, I'm probably 60-40 Travis Etienne.
Saquon Barkley or Travis Etienne. Yeah, I don't think it's remotely close, to be dead honest.
No,
Barkley's 2 years older.
Yeah, I mean, and Barkley's good. Like he's a fine asset to have. You're happy to have him, but
I know people but you
hear the quality of the names we're talking about. Now let's talk. Is it Xavier Worthy or is it Travis Etienne?
Oh,
is it Xavier Worthy and
I don't have full draft.
That's your 110 and that's your 202.
I don't have full draft. I guess I can go to the rookie rankings. The rookie rankings real
you
quick.
Could absolutely get more for Travis Etienne than that.
There we go. Rookie rankings right here.
If you're in a league with me, you need to send me Travis Etienne because I'll pay a lot more than that.
Jonathan Brooks has shot up rookie rankings. He's currently the 108 in non Superflex. Let me check. By the way, I have Dynasty Dominator. It's what I'm using right now, Dynasty Deluxe, whichever version you want.
He's a company man.
I am a staunch company man. I'm looking at the Superflex tight end premium rankings right now, and Jonathan Brooks is the 13th rookie rated. So I think you could still get him at 110. As Corey said in the chat, you could get Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson.
Maybe.
I mean,
in certain leagues for sure.
So there are guys there that I would like. It's one of those things, like that's a trade that I would consider on the clock.
Like
I
guess it's
knock
fair.
knock.
I mean, if I can get, now I'm a Keon Coleman guy. If I can get Jonathan Brooks and Keon Coleman, like, okay, I'm talking.
Per these draft rankings, you could get those two. So again, that's one of those things where you want to look on the clock, and you're like, okay, there are the two guys that I really like. So you're guaranteed to get one of the two because the 110's on the clock. You're like, yep, there's one of the two. And then you can look and like, of the other remaining guys, are there three guys that I would be happy with getting it to?
See, but those, those are the guys that I like. So if I get stuck, like I am not in on Ladd McConkey like everybody else is. So if I have to go Jonathan Brooks and Ladd McConkey, like I don't want to do that. So there's no,
and that's fair.
So,
well, the nice thing is that people have been inflating the value of Penix or Nix. And again, if you're moving ETN off of a rebuilding team, and you wind up in like Michael Penix is there and you want to get a Bo Nix, I don't have a problem with it. Again, context matters
either.
And context matters. So let's get into another one. We'll keep this going. We'll do one, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back with some more. Let me pull this up here because I just got tagged in a bunch of them from our patron, from RJ. So this is a weird order, but the draft must be going on. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
It's gonna be wild. Apparently, the 109 must be on the clock. The 302 undrafted. The 106, which is JJ McCarthy, and the 206. Or do you want Javonte Williams, the 508? And the 304. So one had the 302, one had the 304. Those automatically cancel out. The 109, the 209. It's kind of
you got reorganize this for me because I'm lost.
So 302, 106, and 206.
Okay.
For 109, 209, 304, 5'8", so the 8th pick in the 5th round, and Javonte Williams.
I probably want the JJ McCarthy one. I understand if someone wants 109 and Javonte Williams. All the rest of that is just fluff to me.
Yeah, I very, very well said. I could not agree more.
Like, is Bo Nix and Javonte Williams versus JJ McCarthy and whatever dirt you get at like 206, like that's fine. That. But I'm also in on JJ McCarthy. I don't love him. Like I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I think he's going to be a QB2 just because of how good those weapons are. And so I'm fine with that.
And you won't find a lot on this, but I heard this on one of the non-fantasy podcasts that I listen to. And that there's real concern with JJ McCarthy at Vikings rookie, mini camp, whatever you want to call it, because next month's mandatory mini camp, and then you'll have camp. But anywho, he has been looking at his first read and then scrambling, like
Which
he's
is what he did his whole time at Michigan.
Well,
so it's not a humongous surprise.
Well, that's a problem if you're into Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. If you're in on those guys, that's kind of a big deal. If he's not back there going through read progressions, option 1, option 2, option 3. This was always my worry and my nervousness with JJ McCarthy was that he played behind a good offensive line. He had pretty good weapons. They leaned on the run and the defense. He didn't have to do a whole lot. And we know those caretaker quarterbacks.
Either threw it to Roman Wilson or he scrambled.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. So I'm not out on JJ McCarthy. I really hope.
I'm just out on the 109. Sorry to interrupt, but good.
No, you're good because you hear the opposite about Bo Nix. Everybody's like he's ahead of, and he should be. He's like 37 years old. I think he's the second oldest quarterback in this rookie class, only younger than Jaden Daniels, who's like almost an AARP member, and you've got Bo Nix out there, and he's doing well. But I am 0% surprised that the offense that Bo Nix is running now in Denver isn't giving him problems because that's what he did at Oregon the last couple of years. High volume, short to intermediate passes. I think Bo Nix is going to be fine. So in the short term, I really, 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 really hope that the Vikings just redshirt JJ McCarthy for a year. Don't force him in there. Don't turn him into the next Daniel Jones.
Which
And
I don't
I like
think so.
Daniel Jones, but don't turn him into one read and run guy, because those guys never tend to make it through.
Correct.
Part of it is I have a lot of Sam Darnold, and I'd love to see Sam Darnold in this offense. But
I traded a third for him. So.
And I will tell you this, that if you are drafting JJ McCarthy with the thoughts of him being your third, and God help you if he's your second quarterback, go out and kick the tires on Sam Darnold, Jerry.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, honestly, we could say that about just about every rookie in this class, for the most part.
You know, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to go look at the rankings. If you want to look at the player profiler rankings, maybe you could use Dynasty Deluxe.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode, where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players, because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
I mean, you know what they say, the movie Tommy Boy, you can get a good look at a T-bone steak by shoving your head up a cow's ass, or you could take the butcher's word for it. We'll just take the butcher's word for it. That is the Podfather talking about Dynasty Deluxe, and the website's beautiful. I got a big trade for you, Jerry. Big,
Okay.
huge trade. You got Rashee Rice, Austin Eckler, Jake Turd Ferguson, and the 101. So the rookie 101. So again, Rashee Rice, Turd Ferguson, Austin Eckler, the 101. The other side, you're getting Roshan Johnson, Jameson Williams, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Isaiah Likely, Greg Dulcich, Josh Downs, the 105, and a couple of thirds.
The first side. All I heard was the 105 in there.
Yeah, I'm the one. I mean, so essentially, is it Drake May and Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, listen, you're taking a bunch of shots on guys that are undervalued, so I can respect it.
Yeah, I mean, like because the 105.
I feel like you can probably do a little bit better with the 101, but
Well,
also
that's
the person
true.
with the person that's trading for the 101, I don't really know their strategy, because you're trading for the 101, so
but you're getting an old guy like Austin
Eckler who's going to die. So
and Jake Ferguson, who I love, Rashee Rice, who's probably not going to help you a bunch this year.
That's what I mean. Like I like the value of that side more. I just don't really know their strategy, unless they already just have a goated team and they're just trying to add a young quarterback, maybe.
Well, at the 105, it's like.
But if they have the 105, they don't have a great roster to begin with. So
well, I don't know how again, there's no context. This is just trades in a vacuum. But the 105, I'm fine with, because did you see the picture of Drake May with Tom Brady?
I mean, yeah,
that is a big man. Yeah, is and I'm not saying Josh Allen big, but that's a big man. So I'm clearly on the 101 side too, but I'm trying to put myself in the other shoes.
Listen, if all of those players that have had bad years last year end up doing okay, the Jackson Smith and Jigbas of the world, and Roshan Johnson ends up playing because DeAndre Swift gets hurt or whatever, the opportunity is there. Like, I get it. And is there a chance that somebody that you take at 105 ends up being similar to Caleb Williams? Sure, 100%. And Austin Eckler is going to fall off the world pretty quick. Rashee Rice, I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. I prefer the value of the 101 for sure.
Sure, because it's just the 101. But I will be 0% surprised if we look back in 5 years and Drake May is the better fantasy quarterback. Hear the word fantasy, because his best player comparable on Player Profiler when you get Dynasty Deluxe is Josh Allen. If you get 90% of Josh Allen, you're to the moon. If you get 80% of Josh Allen, you're doing okay. And this is a guy who ran for almost 700 yards in college. So if you get Drake May and any one of those other pieces happen to hit for you, whether that's Downs, whether that's Smith and Jigba, it's obviously make or break for Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
The Podfather super stoked on Roshan Johnson still. And then Greg Dulcich, I don't know that he's ever going to be a thing, but here's what I'll say. I have seen tight ends in the Sean Payton offense with a competent quarterback be a thing. And I don't think Adam Troutman's a barrier to entry for Dulcich. So you have a lot of lottery tickets there, and you're banking on, now you could get sniped and all three of the quarterbacks go before you select at 105. But then your consolation prize is Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. You're like the woman who's crying the blues because she doesn't have any bread while a Virginia ham's under her arm. That's how that works. I butchered a line from The Sopranos.
Okay,
it's from The Sopranos.
I was like, I don't.
I'm rewatching the Sopranos. I asked Theo the other day, should I rewatch The Sopranos or the TV show Justified?
You should have watched Game of Thrones.
I will not. Will not eat them on a boat. Will not watch them with a goat. Will not watch them here or there. Will not watch Game of Thrones anywhere. I want to answer one from the chat real quick. I want to answer one from John Hendricks. John said, I traded 2 seconds for Mike Evans. Is he dumb? These are his questions, Jerry.
No, I'm fine. But you don't like trading for old guys, it seems like that, especially with picks. But
again,
that's
John,
that's an easy deal for me.
John is giving me no context. Seems like he needs. I was like, because like if it's like the 201 and it's super flex and tight end premium,
sure,
you really need to be contending this year. You really, really need to be contending this year. I love Mike Evans. I stuck up for him to be a Hall of Famer. If you really compare side by side, no,
he is a Hall of Famer.
If you compare the side by side numbers of Mike Evans and Devonta Adams, I think Mike Evans has got him in a couple of respects, and Mike Evans has never had the consistent QB play that Adams did when he had Aaron Rodgers. So I am totally like, if you gave up 208 and like next year's second for Mike Evans, it's stealing.
If you're trading for Mike Evans, you're not in a rebuild, I would assume, which means it's a good trade.
And here's the thing, John, if you get in the middle of the season, you get to like week 8, because I don't want to jinx him, but Mike Evans usually a pretty healthy cat. And
usually scoring points too.
If your team has fallen apart, you'll be able to go out and look at the wide receivers from this year's rookie class that are maybe treading water. Like hypothetically, let's hit the rewind button for a second and go back and look at last year. You know, down the stretch, Zay Flowers started to slow down a little bit, right? If last year you would have made this trade in May of 2023, and then in like November when Mike Evans is dropping bombs on people, if you got Zay Flowers and like maybe a future second for Mike Evans at that time, the other person probably won their league, because Mike Evans had a huge end of the season, into the fantasy playoffs. And then you would have walked away with Zay Flowers, a wide receiver I still like, and like future draft capital, you know, and you could take out Zay Flowers and throw in Jaden Reed. There are names that you could throw in there.
A ton of guys in that tier.
But the point of this is that
not dumb.
It's not dumb. You're going to do well. And if your team starts doing bad because, injuries happen, things happen, and Mike Evans is still performing, you can go out to this year's draft class and maybe you can get a Ladd McConkey, or you can get a Brian Thomas Jr., or Jerry's guy, Keon Coleman. A guy that I really like in Roman Wilson, and then like a 25-second back. It's one of those trades that like I call like a refund trade. It's like you go to a store, you buy something, you get it home, and you look at it, and you're just like, You take it back, you get your money back. That's what this trade is.
Or if he's good, then you did exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, that's right. And if you're contending there, then you're going to love it because Mike Evans is going to continue to do Mike Evans things. John said thanks in the chat. No, John, thank you. Thank you for supporting Player Profiler in the show by listening. All right. Here's an interesting one. Another Chris Olave one. Do you want
people are out?
Do you want Josh Allen?
Yes.
Or Jared? He's like, I'm done. We have an answer. Do you want Josh Allen or Jared Goff and Chris Olave? There's a 25 third in there. I totally appreciate the person squeezing an extra third if that was their side.
Yeah, that's very you.
Cosign, big fist pump for you. But Jared Goff and Chris Olave essentially for Josh Allen.
I mean, I want Josh Allen, but it's also not terrible. I mean, Jared Goff has been good, and if Chris Olave can grow and be a 1,300-yard wide receiver, it's a good deal. I prefer Josh Allen because Josh Allen is at the tippy top of the Dynasty Superflex world. He is the silverback gorilla of that jungle, and I would rather have him. And he's going to retain value, trade value, for how long? I mean, how disastrous would it have to go for him to lose tons of trade value? Jared Goff could regress, and immediately people will go back to hating him. They already don't really like him, and he had Patrick Mahomes' numbers this year.
Well, I think with Jared Goff is that it's the goldfish mentality of dynasty gamers, because Jared Goff has been, when he's played a full season, he's had a couple of small injuries here or there, but when Jared Goff plays, he's usually a good spot to finish QB 10.
Yep.
Very solid, very respectable. This past year, he finished as QB 7. I don't love the trade. I'm 100% with you that I'm on the Josh Allen side. But I think Jared Goff may be the most disrespected. This includes my Player Profiler right now. I'm looking at like a ham and egger, like Tua Tagovailoa ranked ahead of Jared Goff. This is disrespectful. I like Drake May ahead of Jared Goff. He's only 29. He's going to play for 5 more years. If you're looking for the next Kirk Cousins, the guy who's just going to give you QB 8 season after QB 8 season after QB 8 season, they just locked him up. They just locked up his offensive line. They just locked up his weapons. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs. He's got Sam Laporta. Jerry the Lions fans pumping his fist. And you're going to put Jaden Daniels ahead of Jared Goff? And no. Absolutely not. Dak Prescott? There are 6 QBs in the dynasty rankings between Jared Goff and so fine, take my Dak Prescott, give me Jared Goff plus something.
I would.
If I can get this next one's going to hurt me because I think he's Jared Goff with better hair. It's Trevor Lawrence. Both drafted 101. Beautiful head of hair. It's the Sunshine Corollary. If you've ever watched,
absolutely the Sunshine.
Remember the Titans. You got to get that hair cleaned up. But anyway, that's just where I'm at. I love Josh Allen. I want the Josh Allen side.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, if you are a savvy dynasty gamer, I am going out because. How much of a stretch is it, Jerry, for Jared Goff to be your QB2 and your QB1 is a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow? I mean, there's probably a lot of lineups like that, right?
Yeah.
But what if you already have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, CJ Stroud, Lamar, Burrow, any of these guys? And you can go out and move Anthony Richardson. Maybe you have him on a roster. There's a league you and I are in together with the Aussies where I have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. Now, I wouldn't do this deal for Jared Goff, but there's so many leagues where you can take that high risk, high reward, but high risk QB. Jordan Love's another one. Kyler Murray's another one. And you can go move that volatile asset and get Jared Goff to pair with a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen, and then get like some rookie picks, some young players you like to fill out your roster. I am always going to be pro Jared Goff and trade.
100%. So let me ask a question. I, as we have alluded to on this podcast and many more, am not the highest on Chris Olave. Who is the player that you would match with Jared Goff to give up Josh Allen? How valuable is that person?
Well, it depends because I don't read the names of the trades because it really doesn't matter. These are just completed
I know.
trades.
The whole NFL player pool is at your disposal. How good does that player have to be?
I'm thinking so I'm a baseball guy, as you know. I'm a baseball coach, and baseball was the first stats to win or use, the stat WAR. And if you don't know what WAR is, it's wins above replacement. What I've used, and ever since I learned about WAR, is for a fantasy standpoint, I use points above replacement. So Josh Allen, I'm just looking at last year's numbers and standard ESPN scoring, scored about 6 to 7 more points a game than Jared Goff. So what other player or players am I going to have to get to recoup those 7 points? And it would have to be like a Justin Jefferson type. CeeDee Lamb.
Amon-Ra was who popped into my head.
I would say I think that's the top 4 wide
Bradley
receivers.
said Puka and AJ Brown. I don't think
they're just outside. They're just outside that window.
I think I would strongly consider AJ Brown. I think Puka's that next one that I would consider it and probably decline it.
If
Puka
was in there,
I'm not doing running backs though.
I'm going to give you a little. Yeah, no, absolutely not. I might give you a bit of a discount with Amon-Ra St. Brown, because then if I'm getting Goff, I'm getting the Amon-Ra St. Brown stack, which is a seasonal thing, but you can use it in Dynasty too. It would take something along those lines. Yeah. I like Pua, and I just kind of want to pair it and then draft off of a thought that Theo had the other day on the Sonic Truth. Matt and Theo and Alan were talking about CJ Stroud as like potentially the QB1. And Theo had a great take that, hey, we did this with Baker Mayfield. We did this with Justin Herbert. We instantly slungshot those guys to the QB2 in Dynasty after a tremendous rookie season. And we got burned. He's like, I think CJ Stroud's properly ranked in that 5 to 6 range. Could not agree more. And I know it's rookie wide receivers and it's not apples to oranges. I get that. But how many wide receivers have we seen come out of nowhere? Braylon Edwards come out of nowhere, just absolutely smash, Josh Gordon, and then never to be heard of again. Now, I don't think that Puka doesn't have good hands. Like, Braylon Allen had 2 bricks for hands, nor do I think he's a drug addict like Josh Gordon, but we've seen these massive highs and lows. And Theo's point was, I just want to see it another year. That's why I wouldn't take Puka. I wouldn't take Puka in that type of a deal. Now, if it was Puka, a future first.
I think he can replicate it just because Matthew Stafford is the single greatest thing to happen to dynasty wide receivers. But also, I agree. He's just because that situation does exist, which is why I would probably decline it. But I would think about it.
Whole nother tangent, but Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. We'll get into this next week with with a topic we want to talk about next week. Next week, we're going to do sophomore surge or purge. This was a topic we did last year. People loved it. They want to know of the guys who are going into year 2. They want to know who are guys that Jerry and I think are going to surge or purge. And like, I'll go a little spoiler alert. Kendre Miller will be one of mine, or maybe it won't be because I've already covered on this week's show. I absolutely love that situation. I love non-mobile quarterbacks for my running backs. It's why I'm so high on Jahmyr Gibbs. Jared Goff ain't going nowhere. He's not going to rush for a first down. He's not going to steal 15 rushing touchdowns like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. He is going to check the ball down, and he's we mentioned earlier about read progressions. He's really good at his read progressions, and he has no problem hitting that fourth option in the flat. I'm here for it. So I love quarterbacks like that. I love them because they pass a bunch. They pass to running backs. Jared Goff, chef's kiss of a guy who's listed as like a really lowly ranked dynasty quarterback. Not even 30, Jerry. Not even 30.
Yeah.
So there you go. We talk trades. We talk trades. We'll do this again because it is the dead season. We'll have some mini camp news. I'm really excited to talk about sophomores because the sophomores so quickly get gobbled up by the rookie class that it creates pockets of value for dynasty deals, Jerry.
Which is why I can understand that 105 deal that we talked about earlier, because a depressed rookie doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a bad player, and they could absolutely pop off. So that's why it's risky.
Do you feel like any of these rookies are a lock to perform this year? Like you look at the rookie rankings. I'm looking at them right now. I'm going to switch back over to rookies. So I'm just going to read like the top 15. Okay.
Okay. Here, you don't even have to. I can. There's only two names that I think are really going to
two names that are a lock to have a good 2024.
Caleb. Well, I think Caleb Williams will finish top 15, 16. Which makes him relevant in a superflex league. Mm-hmm. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr. can finish as a low-end wide receiver too.
So I will I had two as well, and we agree on Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just hard to fade that talent and 160 targets because write it down. That's what he's going to get if he plays 17 games. Is 160 targets. It's like a sore Peter. You can't beat it. The other one for me is Malik Neighbors. I go back to his I go back to the first year with Stephon Diggs in the Dayball offense. And I know Daniel Jones is not great, but part of the reason why you get a Daniel Jones, a Malik Neighbors, is because he's an elite separator. And Daniel Jones likes throwing to a separated wide receiver. I think Malik Neighbors could be the thing that keeps Daniel Jones around for 2025 in New York. He could make Daniel Jones just good enough for them to go like 9-8 and maybe backdoor a playoff spot in the NFC. Because they did it 2 years ago. And that's why he got that contract extension in the first place. So those would be my two. But the rest of these rookies are not overrated, but it's just rookie hype, and it's 100%. It's a thing. It's a thing. It happens every single year. It's going to happen next year. But I think there's value.
That's not to say that a bunch of these guys aren't going to be good for stretches. Like I think there will be weeks when Keon Coleman can win you a week. I think there will be a few weeks out of the year where Jonathan Brooks or Trey Benson or Blake Corum look great, and they can help you, and they can be startable. Malik Neighbors, same thing. Roma Dunze will have a couple of weeks. Like it's just as far as when we look back on it, I think it'll probably just be two guys.
Well, we're just two guys, and we'll be two guys who will come back next week, and we'll talk sophomore surge or sophomore purge. Guys, we're looking to either add or subtract from our dynasty rosters. Just want to thank everybody who hung out in the chat tonight live on YouTube. Really appreciate it. It was nice to have all you people stop by and support the show.
Some new names too.
Yes, yes, that's very true. Bradley, John, Corey's here with us all the time. But it was nice to have new people and being so engaging. Chris, don't want to forget Chris there as well. It's been great, but we'll be back next week. If you want more of this and you just want to talk dynasty trades and whatever, that's part of our Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. check that out. We had one new patron join. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Jerry. Jaffe. And Jaffe joined just because his thought was, instead of doing a super chat, I'll just do a month or of the patron, and then like he's just like hung around because he's had that much fun.
That's actually why I'm still on the podcast too. You asked me to do a show, and I'm just around now.
Well, that's how it works. If you're looking for a place to talk Dynasty, especially in June, July, right around the corner, the dog days of summer, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Thank you for listening to the show. Check out the Dynasty Deluxe. Check out Underdog. Jerry, you got anything else?
No, we got the redraft kit coming out soon.
I do. Are you doing a player this year?
I am doing a player this year. Yep.
It's about time.
Theo, he got me, hit me in the DMs.
Good.
I told him I would do it. So
I told him to. I told him, it's like, you got to stop letting Jerry slack. You were on the podcast with Matty Kiwoom. Check out the game plan from this past Saturday the 25th. Check that out.
Sleepers. We did, I think it was 12 sleepers.
12 Dynasty sleepers. Jerry's, who you doing in the draft kit? Because one of us is doing a Detroit Lion.
Yeah, I saw. Derrick Henry.
I am doing my man Jahmyr Gibbs. Put some respect on his name. Come back and hang out with us next time. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.